Welcome, Nerdy Knights of the Well-Rounded Table, to Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms. I'm Queen of Queries and defender of house elves and all magical creatures, Sarah O'Connor. Welcome.
Watch at BGS. I'm Colleen McMillan, Gryffindor Prefect.
And I am Quidditch commentator, Anders Drew.
And I'm Manager of Mischief, Flo Siegel.
You know, we may have graduated from Hogwarts a long time ago, but our heads could still do with some filling, so let's head to class BGS style. Let's get into Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I think is probably my most favorite book, but it's kind of hard to choose your favorites.
It's my number
Colleen, why don't you tell us what happened?
Excellent. It is my favorite also. I love Prisoner. So, book 3. The first Hogsmeade weekend ever for our trio. Well, not for Harry, but that's fine. Ron and Hermione go. Harry can't. Harry starts to truly bond with Lupin, which is one of my favorite parts. One of the reasons I love this book so much. Sirius Black breaks into the castle. The fat lady gets shredded because she's good at her job. But then she does flee because he terrorized her and still wouldn't let him in. Good job, fat lady. Don't be letting people in. The students spend the night in the Great Hall, and Harry overhears because he's a eavesdropper, for sure. Overhears
They
Dumbledore.
were standing right over him.
I know, but still. Come on, Harry. He overhears Dumbledore, Snape, and Percy, of course, just chilling, discussing the break-in and Snape's theory that someone on staff or inside the castle might be responsible for helping him.
Interesting. So
Intrigue.
a lot of intrigue going on in this part in Prisoner of Azkaban. So going back to earlier in the day, like you said, it's the first Hogsmeade weekend. Harry doesn't have permission, so Ron and Hermione go without him. And Flo, as our resident Ron expert and fanfic extraordinaire, does this count as Ron and Hermione's first date?
So this is a tricky one because obviously we don't hear a lot about what happens on this Hogsmeade visit. We know they probably go to Honeydukes, buy a crap ton of candy. They bring some stuff back for Harry, right?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And I think it does mention that they're like windswept faces, so they're a little flustered.
Windswept.
It looks flushed.
I can definitely imagine them feeling weird and walking, that thing when you're young and you're walking kind of close and then your hands touch and you're like, oh my god, do they think I did that on purpose? Oh no. So that's what I'm imagining. There's not a lot of fan fiction written about this.
Is it because they're so young?
Yes. Yeah. Most fan fiction usually starts, most Ron Hermione fan fiction usually starts around year 4. Usually Yule Ball, although most of it is more Half-Blood Prince. Just because it gets yucky when they're 13.
Yeah. It would be the cute stuff. The more the, oh my god, I touched their hand.
Right, which I don't read.
That's fair.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I don't count this as Ron and Hermione's first date only because the intent wasn't there. So while the impact was that it was kind of like a date, I don't think it's a date without intent. But I do think it probably definitely helped evolve Ron's feelings into what we see in year 4. For sure. I'm sure it was just exciting for them to just be well, first of all, I was excited to just get to go and be a grown up and be away, because we all remember that time in our lives. Yes. I remember I got to go to Round Table Pizza on minimum days, so it was pretty exciting.
We got let loose, guys. Let loose.
Although I had to take my little sister, that wasn't as fun. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it was a lot of excitement and hand brushing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lots of glances.
I love it. I love it.
A lot of oh, do you want this candy? I have an extra sickle.
Where do you want to go next? Yeah.
Should I offer to pay for the butterbeer?
That's right, exactly. And I do wonder if Ron got a little speech from Fred and George beforehand of hey, we hear that Harry's not going. Hey, buddy.
Ron's what?
I really like that idea. I think it would make Ron more flustered, though, if Fred and George pulled him aside for a little speech about what
You're
friend
going with a
dates
girl.
Which is
versus
45% of the reason that they would have given the speech.
Definitely. Oh
45.
yeah.
That seems low. I would say 85.
I would give it just over 50% of them being
Yeah.
like nice older brothers actually trying to look out for
No.
Ron. But
No.
Fred and George.
No. No.
Yeah, I think you're giving them a little bit more credit. But you know who Colleen was singing the praises of is the fat lady. And I'm wondering, do we all think that she recognized Sirius Black right away? I think so, but you guys take it away first. Flo, you're shaking your head no, but you had just
I don't
spoken. So
know.
why don't we do Colleen first, and then we'll do you, then Anders. Colleen. Ooh, what do you
At
think?
first, just because he looks horrible, I don't know if she would recognize him unless she had seen the wanted poster.
Mhm.
Because she would
Mhm.
remember him as this carefree, handsome
Uh-huh.
teenager. And seeing him like that, I mean, that had to have been a shock. Also, realizing who he was, you're like, oh, this weird looking adult is trying to get into the children's common room and he has no password.
Yeah.
And then taking in his appearance probably was like, and you're Sirius Black. No. Loved you when you were here, but no. Not now.
Flo, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I also like, I guess this is like a broader question, but like, how much of a memory do the portraits have?
That's what my answer is going to include. Yeah, go ahead. Flo.
So I'm just like, it just feels like portraits are very like stagnant in a way. And so I don't know, like, can she build a lot of new memories further than the passwords? And like, how far can she remember? Because how long has she, first of all, how long has she been there? How many students
Right.
has she seen?
Mhm.
You know, like while the Marauders are like really important to us, were the Marauders like really that important to her? I don't know.
I think Sirius Black was damn
He's a
important to her.
hottie. She was probably like, oh my.
Sirius.
My
Yeah,
friend
that's
Violet
what
and
I'm
I
saying.
talk about him all the time.
But that's a good question, Flo. Anything
Yeah, I
else?
don't know. I'm just wondering that. And then yeah, like Colleen said, like the guy is emaciated and like haggard looking. He's been like living off of rats and whatever. So, but then the question is, how did she know it was him?
True,
Like,
because she does.
was
at
he just
some
like, I'm
point-
Sirius Black as he slashed her? Like, I don't know.
True.
Go ahead,
Very
Anders. What do
true.
you think?
I would think she would recognize him pretty. I would think she would recognize him pretty solidly. I think the portraits actually have a decent memory, and I'm going kind of off of some of the information we get, post series
Mhm.
about how the headmasters like impart themselves into their portraits. Like they'll have their portrait made years before they die, and they just spend time talking to it, so it absorbs their personality, their memories, and all this sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So I think that they do have a decent memory, and I could imagine, it's also probably just like part of the magic of Hogwarts that, if she's guarding the common room, she probably remembers to a degree every Gryffindor that has walked through there.
Like she's more advanced of a portrait.
She's a little bit
maybe.
more advanced, but I don't know. Sarah, I'll let you kind of do yours before actually just thinking about this question has made me think of another.
Yeah, and
thing.
and so I apologize, Anders, if you say something that I repeat, because I just did a little Google, and all it says really on wizardingworld.com, how do magic portraits actually work? It is tradition for witches and wizards of note to sit for portraits so their legacy can be retained long after they pass. Hence why Hogwarts is covered in frames of countless figures from wizarding history. Imagine if someone gets booted. Eventually sometime like space has to be made. Imagine someone being told peace. But while each painting has its own unique personality true to their sitters' real lives, some are more textured than others. So there is difference. While Sir
Dogan.
Cadogan.
Thank you.
Cadogan,
yeah,
Cadogan,
That one's a
whichever
hard
it
Oh
is.
my
one.
goodness,
Cadogan.
thank you. See,
Sir
I don't
Cadogan.
do names.
Well, his is rough. That's a rough
Yeah.
one.
While he will jovially challenge anyone to a duel who walks past him to his days as a knight, others, such as Albus Dumbledore's portraits, seem to emulate the sage headmaster's famous intelligence perfectly. According to Rowling, the more powerful you are, so Dumbledore, the more real your portrait can be. And if you sit down with your portrait and spend more time with it, the more accurate a portrayal of yourself it will hold. That's why Albus Dumbledore's is so lifelike, like his chocolate frog, which is still sentient in a similar, smaller way. And so I'm thinking I really believe that this fat lady, her portrait was done very well to life. I think she is very comfortable in her frame. You don't see her wander off too often. And there was a cafeteria worker at my alma mater, Allegheny College. So like shout Yvonne, like you were absolutely fantastic. And she would remember anyone even after they graduated. And so when I think of the fat lady from a perspective of, do you love your children? And they think of them like they're your surrogate children. How good is your memory in real life? Not necessarily from a gossipy standpoint, but do you have a face name recall? And how long were you sitting there for that portrait? I'm going to guess that she was sitting there for a gush. This is my little fanfic. She sat there for a beautifully long time, beautifully long time. And she was able to recall students very well when she was alive or when she was performing. That was her job. She had to memorize things, right? And so I imagine that even though Sirius looked vastly different because of his time in prison, we know that he was impacted vastly differently. And I believe that she would recognize Sirius Black having looked at that looker. I mean, he was famous when he went to school there. He was famous. He's not a normal student that went to school there. He was a famous looker. And I would also imagine, and this is my fanfic writing, Sirius Black didn't go up to her and say like, let me in, I'm Sirius Black. Unless he did say, I'm Sirius Black. I am Harry Potter's godfather. I could imagine Sirius Black either one, just trying to get in and schmooze his way in, or two, actually telling the fat lady the truth, just like Rubius Hagrid used to know, and having the fat lady not believe him anyway. But I had originally imagined him not announcing his name, which is why it's so important that she was the one to say it was Sirius Black. She could have easily have said a haggard old man. I have no idea. Plot points. But I've been singing a while. How about you, Anders?
I'm just saying before Anders pops in, I need to read this fan fiction, so put it on bohemiangeekstudies.com.
No, I think you bring up some interesting points. And I mean, obviously she was selected for this job for a reason. That portrait is there on purpose.
I mean, none of the other the portrait for Hufflepuffs are like pears. You tickle them. Like this is the only sentient passageway, right? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
This is the only one with a portrait. Yeah. The
Slytherin still has a password, and then
Slytherin has a password, but it's just a brick wall.
Asks the questions, the riddles,
and then Hufflepuff is a barrel that you just have to knock it the right way.
Yeah, I am going on record that the fat lady could sing his name. She would know him. She would know him.
I think so. So this is actually going to start to kind of transition us into another thing I wanted for us to theorize about. How exactly did Sirius get into the castle? Because obviously he's got some great knowledge of the secret passageways. He's got the animagus thing going on, so he could be a dog. You know, talking about the portraits, if he sneaks into the castle as a dog, at some point he transforms into a man. Do none of the portraits see this happen? And when they're like all being like searched and interrogated for like, does no one bring it up so that the people in charge know, by the way, man can turn into a dog.
Right.
So I'm assuming that he used the Honeydukes passageway as a dog, and then once safely inside, went into dude form.
Why not the Shrieking Shack?
Well,
or is that what you...
I just feel like the Shrieking Shack is like dangerous as hell. Like,
okay.
I don't know. I guess he could have used the Shrieking Shack. I just feel like
know to look for him there.
And also like I would just avoid the Whomping Willow like the plague. So I'd just be like, fine, I'll just go through Honeydukes because I'm a dog and nobody seems to care and there's no security anywhere anyways. So
shocking.
Just be like, hey, I'm a random dog eating candy. Bye. Go through, transform back into a guy just because it might be faster. I'm not really sure. I know he's like a big dog, but still. But then like, why wouldn't you enter as a dog? I don't really know the answer to that one.
I mean, he's not really in his right mind either. He
Right.
might have used a
True.
disillusionment charm too to make himself slightly invisible.
Does he have his wand?
Does he have a wand at this point, though?
I would
I
think
don't think
no.
so, but some people can do magic.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can do-
where is
you can
Sirius's wand?
Prisoner
can
of
do-
Azkaban.
Yeah, he does get one by the time of
order.
at least
Order.
Order of the
Goblet.
Phoenix. He might have it during Goblet of Fire,
Goblet.
but he is able to do his animagus transformations without it.
Right.
So he might
Um,
be able to do some sort of disillusionment charm, but it might not work completely either.
Yeah. I always had it in my mind that he had like snuck onto the grounds like at the start of the year,
Mm-hmm.
that he had kind of come in through the forests.
Oh.
Like he had
Mm.
entered there somewhere else. But then that begs the question for this, like how does he actually get into the castle?
Mhm.
Because
Right.
even if you come through the Whopping Willow, you're still only on the grounds. You have to get in the front door.
Right.
Lupin let him in, guys. That's what Snape thinks.
Very true.
I mean,
Well,
I guess
there's-
like if anybody was gonna get in, it was gonna be Sirius. Like he knows the castle like the back of his hand. So
Exactly.
Mm.
or his paw.
And back on like the now, of course, I'm just like going all over the place, but the idea of the fat lady as this guardian of the common room, she also fat lady's not a snitch. Like she tends
Right.
like she doesn't like report every time like kids leave
Right.
after hours and come
That's
back.
what I'm
She just
saying.
kind of
She's ride or
complains.
die.
She's just
She's
like,
ride or
you
die.
shouldn't be leaving, but then that's it.
But then that's it.
Again,
It's not like she reports that.
Nobody at this effing school is good at their job. I'm just like, what?
I would actually argue that this makes her great at her job.
I mean, not as
Her
an
job is to
employee of
guard the door.
Dumbledore.
Her job is to guard the door.
Actually,
Alright,
Dumbledore
well.
never told me anything about snitching
Yeah.
on the children.
Going back to this Sirius Black question, is there any chance that Crookshanks helped more than once
That's
with the
possible.
Willow?
Possible.
Possible.
If he's already met Sirius at this point. Because Sirius says kind of right away, Crookshanks does pick up on the fact that he's not just a dog.
Right.
That's what I'm guessing, because like Crookshanks picked up really quick about the rat. Crookshanks picked up really quick about the dog. I like the idea of Sirius Black being on the grounds waiting, but like you said, needing to be able to get in. I am
Shanks
persuaded
opens
by
the
the
front
idea
door.
that Crookshanks helped a brother out more than once.
Mhm.
I like the idea. I like that idea.
Yep. Well, anything further, guys? This is a great book.
Yeah,
This is such a good book.
so
It
good.
is. It is one of the better ones for sure.
Mhm.
Well, then I think that's where things will wrap up for Prisoner of Azkaban. Thanks for being with us, and come back again for our next detailed dorky dive. Remember, you can check us out on our website at bohemiangeekstudy.com. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and send us your questions, theories, and more at bohemiangeekstudies@gmail.com. Until next time, Flo, can I see that wand way up?
Wands up.
Wands up, and keep those episodes streaming.
Don't make me freaking curse you right now.
Okay. There we go.
And Percy was just standing there also. So he's like,
Percy's always just standing there. When does he do anything useful?
it's very true.
He
Very
was
true.
under the Imperious curse. Don't be so hard on him.
No, he
Not
wasn't.
at this point.
Percy was never under the
Yeah,
Imperious
he
curse.
wasn't.
In my
He's
head
just-
canon, he
he's
was.
just a tool
No,
bag.
Percy's ego was its own Imperious curse.
That is so fucking true.
Yeah,
That is
he
so
steps
fucking
up at
true.
the end, but
I mean,
It takes
although
him so long to
I'm
get there.
here to read some Percy letters to Audrey.
What does that mean? Tell me more.
Oh, like everybody
wife.
thinks that he was just like straight up writing hella romantic letters to like Penelope and Audrey.
See, I believe it.
Dude,
believe it
Percy
too.
Percy is a freak. He is definitely
Yeah.
like on kink talk. for
so
That's what
tightly
I'm
coiled.
saying. Yeah.
Oh,
Look at how nervous Anders is. Let's keep going.
No, I'm
Actually,
trying to think of the shut up in his room all summer.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
All that
Waxing the
badge
badge.
polishing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know what he was up to.
He's writing fan fiction is what he's doing.
He's like a 50 Shades of Grey dude for sure.
And he's sending
Sure.
that then to Penelope. And Penelope's like, hey, I
Oh,
like this
God.
freaky guy.
All right, I'm ready.
Peter.
Ready?
I'm now hot and bothered, but
I know,
that's
me too.
fine. I'm a little flustered right now.
That's why I have a cold beverage.